growth. Success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, you Roach Growth listeners. Today I have Candace Mae Gruber. She is the CEO of Candace Mae Training Services. Thank you, Candace, for being here today.
I'm happy to be here, Vinny. I'm excited. We're both in the San Diego area here.
Yeah, you have a long teacher, life coach, consultant, trainer, speaker. It's a lot of hats to juggle there.
I don't think so. I think they're all the same. When you're teaching, you're speaking, right? And when you're a leader, you speak, you share your knowledge, you inspire other people. To me, it's one hat and just different opportunities to share it.
So if you had to put it under that one hat, what would you describe yourself then?
Perhaps, I guess education, right, as an umbrella.
Educator?
I'm an educator, right? Yeah, absolutely. I teach people to be introspective, how to embrace resiliency, healthy confrontation, how to develop themselves inside their character. There's competence, connection, and character for leadership. Those are the three aspects. And most people just look at the competence and they forget about the connection with other people, the importance of that. And they forget about their own character and how they have to build up their character inside to be really great leader on the outside to inspire other people. So it's a phased process. So whether I'm doing a training or I'm then coupling on coaching, which increases the application and transformation rate by 80% when you combine training and coaching together. Or I'm doing a public presentation or keynote speak. The goal is always to share that confidence, connection, and character in an inspirational way that really moves people into action to transform themselves.
When I get people, and I mean, I feel like, maybe a third, maybe around a third of the people I've had on the podcast have been coaches, consultants, people in that kind of like educator, as you kind of define it, sector. The one question I always have brought up more and more, I guess, is what separates you from other coaches, other consultants, other people in that kind of sector?
The transformational element of transition, right? I have gone through a lot in life, a lot of hurdles, as you will. As I mentioned in my book, Heaven Within, Restoring Wholeness for Better Leadership. It's my life journey and challenges and that I've overcome and what the lessons were through that. So help people. It's kind of like the hero's journey, right? You've gone on a hero's journey, you've gone through the valley and you hit that chasm and gap. And you've found your way through that valley, found the elixir to the solution, and now you want to come back and share it with everyone else. But I like to niche into women in leadership because I think women have more challenges, or maybe not more than men, but a lot of the load gets shifted to the women when it comes to family and parents and children and those kind of things. And they have to balance that with their career, right? And with their own struggles.
Has that, I guess, dynamic changed at all through the years? Where do you see it going in your opinion?
I don't know that it's changed. Men are beginning to get more involved in the family, obviously, and having those career emphasis as well. But let's face it, in the marketplace, it's still male dominated. Is it not? Yeah, in leadership. So women are in leadership, but are they in the volume of leadership roles that the other men are? Is there as much natural coaching or mentoring within the workplace for women as there are naturally for the men? I think that's still evolving.
So there has been a change then?
There is a change in process, yes. But
Okay.
I don't think it's changed enough. See, I often see challenges out there in the world and conversations that are going on. You go, I know a lot of people who that doesn't fit. That's not true. We've overcome that already. Yeah, there is a group. There's a small percentage that have overcome, right? And there's still the majority who are facing those struggles without the guidance to get them there.
Well, I
So
mean,
it's
I think it goes to the idea of the RAS, right? I mean, where you say, okay, well, I'm looking for a white car. You're going to start seeing more white cars. If you look for people that quote unquote disenfranchised or not meeting their potential, you're going to start seeing more of those people, right?
that's true.
If you're aware of that, you're going to find more of that, right?
That's true. I do mention that fact even in my book that, like I think I shared it in the point of divorce and being single or married. And there's more divorces. Most people are divorced. And I was like, but do you catch that? That is a mindset. That is a stronghold that sits in that unconscious area of a belief. Because if you really look around, there's probably as much or more people who have been married in a long time, right?
Yeah.
But it depends on what group you're tapped into or what your perspective or filter is that you're seeing the world through as to what you're embracing.
Yeah. Well, let's rewind, Candace. I mean, to a young Candace. Young Candace. I mean, what was it like growing up? Were you into, I guess, helping other women? Were you into starting a business? I mean, who was young Candace kind of growing up?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. Young Candace was Candy. I went by Candy
Okay.
as a young girl. I grew up in Warren, Michigan, 20 miles northeast of Detroit. And yeah, I guess you'd say I was kind of entrepreneurial. I had an easy bake oven. I was out there baking
Oh,
little cakes and selling cakes and lemonade on the corner. And we lived on the corner, so it was a good corner. We did family fairs in the summertime, and we would dress up in costumes and as clowns and different things and pull our wagon around the neighborhood advertising. And our family fair was so much fun. My mom had an 8mm movie projector, and she would set up the garage and she as a theater, and she would put Popeye and all of those original Mickey Mouse movies and so forth, cartoons. And I had a cotton candy machine. We'd make cotton candy. And like I said, those easy bake ovens and all those things. We had all kinds of treats and those snow cone machines and things, popcorn. We had these big wooden clown faces with bean bags to throw through. My brother was a magician, my oldest brother. So he did a magic show. It wasn't your typical neighborhood fair. We really had a good time doing it. Then, of course, my aunt had a farm, and we were in a more metropolitan area. So we would go out and get vegetables from her house and bring them out and sell them in the wagon around the neighborhood. So I guess I was kind of an entrepreneurial spirit to some degree. I had my paper route and all that we could do.
what pushed you to be an entrepreneur, having the paper out, selling stuff? What pushed you to do that?
As a kid,
Yeah.
I don't know. Money. I like to do things. I like to be busy. I like to share. I like fun. I like to have fun, and I like people. So they were just something to do, I guess. Something to do.
Was it your parents? I mean, because I've had different people on here. Sometimes it's they almost internally it seems like it's them. Other times it's the parents kind of giving them guidance on, hey, you should do this. It's the thoughts. I mean, for you, was it more internal? Was it more of your parents, more
Yeah, I don't
friends? I
think it
mean,
was our. I don't think it was our parents so much. My mom was a school teacher, so she was involved with us with the fair. So I guess she was teaching us good business skills in that regard. So perhaps it was more inspired from my mom initially, rather than just us randomly. But I don't think she said, "Get out your easy bake oven and go bake some cookies and cakes and go sell them." I think that was just like, I like to bake, and like I want to share this with people, and so like this was an opportunity that we could do that with. Helping people has always been a joy of mine, right? And so even I began a lot of personal growth around 13 years of age. And so ever since then, I've been really focused on personal development. So that's a long time. That's over 40, 45 years that I've been really diving into personal growth. So
personal
helping.
growth at 13. What does that entail? Or what did that entail?
Well, I was a redhead. I was youngest of 5. My
Okay.
dad's youngest of 14. My mom's a single mom, a single child. But so I got picked on a lot as a redhead, right? Now as an adult, people love the red hair, but as a kid, It's like, I'd rather be dead than have red on my head. You're something's, you're adopted. We found you in the hollow tree, and it goes on and on. So, you're different. Something's different about you, and you don't know why. Everybody wants to pick on you. It's not like you can control the color of your hair as a kid. I mean, as an adult, you can dye it, but not as a kid, right? So I don't know that red is a problem anymore, because it's kind of in fashion even for kids perhaps now. But I lost the question.
Well, when you say personal growth, I mean, I know the idea of getting
Oh,
picked on. I mean, how are you? How did that? How do you? I guess instead of taking it internally as a negative, turn it into a positive. I guess.
okay. Very good. Because I wanted to know what was different about me and what I could do to be a better me, right? And what I could. So whether it was in a physical nature, or it was more personality related. Another thing that really shaped me, I guess you could say, which probably drove the personal growth, was the fact that my dad was an active KKK member.
Oh
And
wow.
so there was a lot of negativity in the house, or prejudice comments in the house when he was home. He worked nights, so he wasn't really there when we were home during the week, but he was always busy and out doing his thing. So children learn what they live, right? And I didn't want any part of that. When I was 6 years old, I stumbled. We were at a family campground, and I stumbled out looking for the men, because I realized none of the men were around. And I stumbled on a 12-foot burning cross with men in white garb, covered. I think that leaves an impression on a girl, right? Kind of like, what is going on here? This is kind of evil. And going into the community center, and there's more men in these garbs, and wondering what's happening here. So I think that shaped me. Like I saw that there was evil in the world, and I wanted to change it. I wanted something different, and I had to dig deep to find out. I was always fighting with my dad when he would make his comments. That's not true. That's not true. So it pretty much shaped me, right?
So at that time, you saw it as a negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, because you got to think, right? If you grew up in a cave, right, you're thinking basically everything's in the cave, right?
Yeah, but my
Until you
mom
actually
was a
see.
school teacher, and she had a very open philosophy, then very much contrasted my dad. She would
Okay.
say, no, all people are created equal. We were in Warren, 20 miles northeast of Detroit, and the Detroit riots broke out. And so
Yeah.
she would put us all in the station wagon and drive us down in Detroit and say, I want you to see what's going on here in the streets, because the news channels are going to tell you what they want you to hear. And each newspaper, somebody owns the papers, they own the TV news channels and the radio stations. Those were the big avenues for news at that time. And she says, and each one will be slanted as to what that owner wants to convey through the news media. So you need to see things with your own eyes and experience things with your own eyes as well, and be able to step back and use some logic and judgment to determine what's right or wrong. So she was always instilling a higher purpose in me, compared to my dad being the youngest of 14, kind of just going along. His brother was very close to his brother. And so he pretty much went along with the program. I don't, my dad didn't get past third grade. My mom had a master's degree. There was a big contrast in the home that I grew up in, right? There was just contrast after contrast. And so it left me in a place to really explore. What's my role here? What do I believe? Dad believes this, mom believes this. Like, what is it for me?
Where did that push you? I mean, through like schooling, where did it push you in life to say, hey, I want to explore and find out who I am? Where did that take you?
Well, I think one of the biggest things, when I went into college, I noticed most of the students were there because their parents encouraged them to go to college, to get a degree, to earn more money. And that surprised me. It honestly surprised me, because I came to college because I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to gain more knowledge. I wanted to have better social groups and structures around me. It was more. And then I taught in a private trade school once. And the administration was like, just get the students to pass. Just give them the answers to the tests. And I'm like, no, I don't know about that. I think they really need to learn. Like, I can guide them and give them study things, but I'm not just going to like give it away. And so that administrator said, you're just into raw education, Candace. And I suppose that always stuck with me, because to me, I thought people, if they wanted to learn, they would be hungry. They would be curious. They would dig deep to find answers and what's in them. And I know even other people who go to college, they'll have an assignment that's assigned to them to do. And they just look for, what is the teacher looking for? What is the answer the teacher wants? I'm just going to feed them whatever they want to know. Get the A and move on. And I never took my assignments that way. I always took them as opportunities to dig and explore and find what I felt was of value.
What do you find of value that kind of pushed you on till later in life? I mean, was it joining a company? Was it starting a business? I mean, where did that take you from all the learning that you kind of accumulated in college?
I don't understand that question. Say it again.
So you're learning,
I'm
right?
learning.
You said you exploring, right, to become a better person.
Sure.
Where did that take you to your next adventure, making a living, a career, a pathway? Because I'm guessing you didn't jump from schooling to being a consultant, speaker, trainer. Sure. There's probably a middle area, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's fair. So I worked in training, in everything I did. I ended up being involved in training and helping other people. So there's my path. I started out in high school, graduating high school, and I took a trade school in my senior year as well as a legal secretary. Okay. So I graduated high school with honors and certified as a legal secretary. And then I packed up my car at 19 from Michigan and drove 2,600 miles across the United States to California to become my best self, not knowing anybody out here, just wanting that adventure and that exploration without all of the judgments and beliefs that I felt were constricting within my family. So that makes me different, I guess, some of these character traits you're seeing, right? And then once I was out here, I worked with some architects and became a I went to, just as working with law firms, you can become a legal secretary and a paralegal. In architects, you can become a technical secretary. It's a professional path. So I became a technical secretary with the architects, and I worked for the Olympic Committee in 1984 in LA, and that was a lot of fun with the Coliseum and the Exposition Park and the construction and the contractors, and I was managing, working, supporting all of them. And then I moved into, contract negotiation, right? And I love vendor management. It comes really natural to me, finding a win-win for both sides and getting everybody moving in the right direction. And then I went back to college and got my degree in business administration and emphasis in accounting, and realized that there's a gap in the technical industry with like business. When you have a lot of programmers, sometimes they know how to program, they know how to make things work, but they get caught up in their lingo and their technical, and we can do this, so let's just do it. And they don't connect to the business side and really understand all the business rules that have to be applied. So like, say somebody in accounting has things they need done and they want a program to get it done. Well, the technical guys can do it, but they may not understand all the rules. So it became an opening for me to be a liaison, a project manager, business systems analyst, to work between the stakeholders or the business side, because I have that strong talent, with the technical. And so I did some database administration and Unix administration and some technical support. And then I liked the project management side and like letting others people do the programming and all of that. And so that became a career path for a while with a couple of higher educational institutions I worked for. And I did some teaching as an ad hoc and adjunct professor. And in the meantime, I was still doing all my personal growth, my own personal growth, whether it would be through a leadership conference, more than one, and digging deep with Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend, or whether Dr. John C. Maxwell. It's one of, does a lot of leadership things. So I paid for a lot of personal training, certifications of various things. And so now I'm affiliated with John Maxwell's material, licensed to train with his material at the corporate level. And that's when I kind of felt like it's time for me to break out and really. But in my 20s, I knew I wanted to have my own business someday. But as I approached my 50s, I was like, it's time. It's time for me to kind of step out in faith and kind of pull this together. I've got quite a bit to share.
What was that catalyst? I mean, I know you said that you wanted to do it for 20, and there's that 30-year window of where it actually transitioned and you actually built your own business. Was there a singular catalyst? Was there, I have to have this much money in my bank account to make sure that I'm protected if I make the jump? I mean,
That's
what was that
everybody's conclusion,
catalyst?
right? Yeah. No. The catalyst was I was becoming more and more uncomfortable in my career, that there was something more I needed to be doing.
Mhm.
And I just felt the Lord pushing me, nudging me to step out. And I did some podcasts. I was asked to be on the radio and shared my testimony. And as I was sharing my testimony with them and some of the comments and conversations they had, the prompting became very strong. And something happened in one of my positions at the university. I had been a permanent employee and I moved into a contract role. Which was very unlikely for me, but I was married to a vice president of IT for a worldwide company. And then I had my income. And now at this point, my kids are grown. I have 3 kids, and my youngest was in high school, ready to be graduating as this was coming about. And I found myself, I took on this contract position because it was supporting an ERP system, enterprise-wide system that I like to do the implications, system configurations, upgrades, all of those things I managed. And I wanted to work in that system. So I left this regular job, took on that. Another reason was also to get away from a boss that I had who was really a bully. And I didn't like working for him and seeing how he was impacting the lives of my teammates around me. It was quite devastating to see the lives destroyed. So that was ultimately the reason I took the contract position, which I wouldn't do because I was all about stability. And when the contract expired, I had a choice. I could go back and get another job in IT and in working in all that area, or I could now start my business, because at that point in my life, I was in my mid-50s, and I said, if I'm not going to do it now, when am I going to do it?
Yeah. I mean, that's and it seems like, I mean, most of your kids were older at that time, so maybe less
Felt less risky.
yeah, less risky, right? Do you remember, and going back to kind of something you talked about where you, I guess, dealing with some family situation, you learning, educating to explore and kind of like grow as a person, and then you left, I mean, schooling, or left your area to go somewhere else. It seems like you were going away from kind of where you came from. Was there a transition of where you stopped going away from where you came from, but going towards who you want to be? Does that make sense?
Well, I think that's why I left. So I had started doing research to move to Texas.
Yeah.
In my senior year of high school. I had a boyfriend who had moved there with his family. And I had done all the research, got a paper coming to my house in Michigan about Texas. And I decided to take Christmas vacation and go check it out. And he had established some bad relationships, and I didn't see my life in 5 years with him being in a good place. So I decided, well, I'm not going to Texas. And there was a recession in 1981, 82 in Michigan. So I wanted to move. I wanted to be my best self. I had already started working on goals and what I wanted to achieve at 18, right? Who does that? Not a lot of 18-year-olds have planned out their life.
Well, that
A lot.
isn't that away from the fear instead of towards the pleasure? I mean, because it sounds like again you're going away from fear instead of going towards pleasure, right? The pleasure of building your business now, right? Building your speaking engagement, the pleasure of that relative to the fear of being with someone that's a bad person, or in your eyes, that time a bad person. Does that make sense?
I never looked at it as I was running away from fear. That's
Okay.
something I'll have to contemplate. Maybe
Yeah.
they always say don't run away from something, but run to something. And I
Well,
always envision myself as running to a brighter future,
well,
to becoming my best self.
Well,
If I
most people, I mean, most people go away from pain, right? Instead of going towards pleasure, right? Most people, and that's the mindset of people, right? It's even something for myself, right? In it's easier to go away from pain than towards pleasure. And just it sounds like again, and I could be wrong. I mean, this is something, I mean, to think about is the idea of the pain of where you kind of came from relative to the pleasure of a powerful speaker, a powerful teacher, a powerful so on and so forth.
that was my goal
Yeah,
to develop into that. But
yeah,
I if I stayed where I was, people would be telling me why I'm doing what I'm doing and what I'm thinking, and it was just constant
yeah,
undermining.
yeah.
I felt so. I could have run to pleasure and gone to Texas where my boyfriend was, and that would have been a physical pleasure.
Mm,
But I didn't want a physical pleasure or be in a comfort zone. I was willing to step out. Most people, I know my cousins and so forth, would say, Candace, I can't imagine packing up my car at 19 and driving across country not knowing anybody. Like
yeah.
you were so courageous and bold just to step out, like because you wanted more. You were striving to get more. And, that was too much out of their comfort zone to be able to do that. Um, to
Okay.
me, it just seemed like the logical thing to do, right? If you really now, I did tell my kids growing up, it's not a good idea to pack up and move away without a support structure around you. So if you're
Mm,
going to move to another state and you don't know anybody there, you need to get grounded, maybe find a church, an organization, find some hobbies and get plugged into the community so that you have that support structure. Because if you move away and you're all alone, you're isolated, you become a target, right? It can be very difficult if this money gets tight, especially at 19. You know, you're not making huge bucks in your career, right? You're getting by. So
a
it's
a
definitely
target by who or target by what?
you can become, well, especially for women, you can become a target for men to there's human trafficking, there's all kinds of things out there that are going on, right?
Okay.
So
So,
if you're struggling and you're isolated and you don't have a connect group, you
mm,
become a target. You become a target for people to take advantage of you or to be pulled into things that you don't want to be pulled into. So um, I'm thankful the Lord watched over me. Right? I'm thankful that He provided a way for me. He provided me to go to college, paid for my education. I didn't have any debts. I don't know how it all happened. I look back and I'm amazed at how God has blessed me. Right? And working through my company, the same. You know, He prompted me to start the business and to lead, and it's been a journey. It's been a growth process, and to walk in faith is a challenge. A lot of people are afraid to step out into the unknown. They'd rather stay in an uncomfortable environment because they know they're demons. They know what's uncomfortable there. They know what to expect than to step out into something and they don't know if it's going to be good or bad or worse. And so I'm just going to stay where I am.
do you think and how? I mean, I guess as you grew as a person and you were finding out who you were, right? Looking back on your parents' dynamic, was it a comfortable space for, I guess, your mother? I mean, if they had two different ways of looking at the world, and
No.
if it okay, if it wasn't, then did you ever go back to try to help? Because I mean, there's a lot of people probably listening, right, that have a friend or a family member that it's like they're in maybe a tough spot, and sometimes it could be difficult to try to get them out of that tough spot. And with so much growth that you've kind of come through, has that ever been a want for you, I guess, or just something you ever did?
To go back and help my mom?
Yeah, I mean, if she was in a tough situation, I mean, I
Well,
would think.
this is a situation with that.
Yeah,
And all of these things shape who you are and who I
yeah,
am and how I see things.
yeah,
My mom and dad were married over 30 years.
yeah.
And then they divorced.
Okay.
But they were together 25 years, had their big 25th anniversary, but they
Mm.
were fighting all the time. If they went
Yeah,
home, there was yelling, there was fighting. Okay.
yeah.
It wasn't good. My dad was gone. He was fishing, he was hunting, he was at Mason's Masonic Lodge meetings, he was doing the other events. He was out. He was not with the family. Um my mom was the one who was the grounding one. She was
Mm.
the one who was doing the home projects and teaching us how to do things because
Yeah,
you got to just do it, right? You can't wait around. My dad wasn't there helping us build anything in the house um, uh, and so I remember my brother and I, he's 4 years older than me. One day we asked my mom, why are you still with dad? Like, why are you still together? Like, you guys
mm,
fight all the time. There's like, we never see any joy.
mm.
And she said, I stayed together for you guys.
Oh
I
wow.
said, really? How is this helping us? How does this horrible relationship help us?
Mm,
You're staying together for us. And she says, well, I was a single child, an only child. And my way back, she was born in 1923, 24. So my grandmother had her and then shipped her off to her grandmother's, right?
mm.
And so she said, I thought it would be nice for you to have, more important to have parents, two parents. And maybe that's true, but hopefully those parents are working together. But my brother and I had said, we think you should take care of you. We think you should be happy
Mm.
home. I think you should do what you need to do. Dad's got his brother and he's always off doing his thing. And you're just here with us all the time.
Yeah.
And she's a teacher. So she was always taking care of everybody else. And one day she did. I heard her ask my dad, like, I want you to move out. Right. And then one day he called home from work because like I said, he worked nights. So we're watching TV or doing whatever we're doing. And the phone rang and I answered it. It's my dad. And I said, where are you? He goes, I'm at home. I said, what do you mean you're at home? He goes, I don't live there anymore. Wow. Well, that's shocking. And that was kind of a weird way to be told. Right. But if you look back, I mean, mom asked him to move out, but you don't expect it. And then weeks or months later, you get this phone call. So I think my mom got her master's degree. She traveled the world. She made connection with friends and things. She tried to stay active. So I don't know that she needed my help.
Mm. Yeah. That's great. I mean, that's powerful right there. Talking about and I'm gonna finish off this question. I appreciate so much, Candace, for being here today. If we're talking in 5 years from now, where do you see your journey going? You've talked about the growth that you've already accumulated. And anyone listening, I mean, talk about from moment of being a child to
Yeah.
this moment of being a leader of people. I mean, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
I see me having a group of consultants who are working together, that I would be speaking, traveling the world, staying a few months in different countries, events, sharing all about leadership and personal growth and how to live love, that bottom narcissistic leadership.
If someone's listening right now and they're and we're losing you a little bit, but if we'll finish off with this. If someone's listening right now and they're looking to book you, or if they're looking to maybe see if they can be under your consulting umbrella, or maybe take on some consulting from you directly, what's the best way of them getting more information?
My website is CandaceMae.com, CandaceMae.com. And that has my phone number and appointment. You can schedule an appointment free with me to services you might best need. Best way to reach.
And for everyone listening right here, if you go in the show notes, you're gonna. Oh, was it the last thing, Candace?
Deeper and get all.
Whoa, yeah, we're losing you a little bit. I mean, but there we go. In the book, yeah, there we go. Candace does have a book, so if maybe some of the stuff resonates with you of that journey, of looking to grow, looking to expand, and maybe you're just looking to get some more insight and seeing how Candace's life maybe has some similarities to yourself. Of maybe you're in a bad spot, like Candace talked about, right? You're in a bad situation, and you're trying to get away from there and grow and expand. Maybe her story is going to help get you there. I mean, or maybe you need some hand holding with Candace and some guidance from Candace. Go in the show notes, go to her website. You can find her book there. You can find all the information. Thank you so much, Candace, for being on the Road to Growth podcast. Any last words of wisdom? It looks like we have clear connection right now. Any last words of wisdom?
Well, you need to heal yourself and grow your emotional intelligence, right? Who you are, your self-awareness and your self-regulation, and then your social awareness and managing relationships. And that's essentially what I like to do, help people grow from the inside out and then lead their team and connect and build their character and really build their business from that foundation.
Thank you again, Candace. Everyone, please subscribe, please share, go in the show notes, and go find Candace. Bye, everyone.